came down? What came down?
The crash. The other trade center's down. It's down. It's down.
After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, the U.S. invaded Afghanistan because the Taliban was protecting Osama bin Laden.
Is a Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not.
It's time to bring our people back home.
And America's longest war.
The U.S. will soon complete its withdrawal of forces.
Afghanistan is a landlocked country in South Central Asia. It shares borders with Pakistan to the south and east, Iran to the west, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan to the north. The Taliban, a group that went from unknown students in dusty madrasas to rulers of most of Afghanistan in just 2 years. Their rise changed the future of the country. So let's go back in time to 1979. That's when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Their goal was to support a weak communist government in Kabul that was losing control. But guess what? The Afghan people didn't like being controlled by foreign power, especially one that didn't respect their religion and traditions. So, a resistance movement started, made up of fighters called the Mujahideen, which basically means those who fight for Islam. And here's something big. The United States, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia started supporting these fighters. Why? Because this was during the Cold War.
The Cold War had begun. The world lay divided between two great superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union.
This became one of the biggest secret operations in history, Operation Cyclone. For nearly 10 years, from 1979 to 1989, Afghanistan was a full-on war zone.
The people were not opposed to Russian interest in Afghanistan until the Russians actively backed the new regime with extensive economic and military aid.
The Soviet military was bombing rural areas, resistance fighters were planting landmines, and civilians were caught in the middle. Over 1 million Afghans were killed.
Bombing indiscriminately, killing our women and children. The Russians are bombing, dropping different kinds of bombs.
By the time the Soviets finally pulled out in February 1989, the country was completely devastated. After the Soviets left in 1989, you'd think the war would end, but it didn't. The Afghan communist government, led by Najibullah, held on for a few years with Soviet support.
برای مجاهدین مسلط است که ما یک بار دیگر خود را در میان موسفیدان و بزرگان معزز مقابل.
But soon, the Mujahideen groups that once fought together turned on each other. This period, from 1989 to 1996, was a brutal civil war. Mujahideen commanders became warlords, each controlling different regions. Some of the big names at the time included Ahmad Shah Massoud, known as the Lion of Panjshir, who led the Northern Alliance. Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, leader of the Hezbi Islami faction. He was once backed by the CIA, but later became known for shelling Kabul constantly. Burhanuddin Rabbani, who became president in 1992, but couldn't hold the country together. Later he died on September 20th, 2011 in Kabul by a suicide bomber posing as a peace negotiator. From 1992 to 1996, Kabul was a battlefield. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Hekmatyar's forces bombarded the city with rockets and artillery, targeting his rivals, including Massoud. Civilians were trapped. Food and water were scarce.
After leading his fighters in a civil war that claimed thousands of lives, analysts suggest his return is a turning point.
By 1994, people in Afghanistan were beyond tired. They had gone through the Soviet war, then years of brutal civil war. Warlords were fighting each other, robbing people, abusing power. There was no safety, no justice, no future. And out of this chaos, something new began in Kandahar, a city in southern Afghanistan. A group of young men, mostly Pashtun, the largest ethnic group in the country, decided they couldn't take it anymore. These men were students who had studied in madrasas or Islamic religious schools just across the border in Pakistan. Many of them had grown up as refugees during the Soviet war. These students called themselves the Taliban. Now leading them was a man named Mullah Muhammad Omar. He was a former Mujahideen fighter from Kandahar who had lost one of his eyes during the war with the Soviets. In November 1994, the Taliban made their first major move. They captured Kandahar. In that moment, the fall of Kandahar was the beginning of the Taliban's rise. People started spreading the word. More fighters joined them. Communities welcomed them because they were tired of the chaos.
People were suffered from civil war badly. When Taliban came, amazingly they was been welcomed by Afghans.